All right, welcome to the program. Yes, there is more Leafs fallout. Let's just get that out of the way. The Leafs story continues. Matthew Nyes was asked about offer sheets today. Brought a smile to my face. Anyhow, we heard from Berube. We heard from a number of Toronto Maple Leafs today. Clean out day in Toronto. Game 1, Panthers Hurricanes. And the story is medicine balls. Why not? And again, the Carolina Hurricanes leaning into the boring accusations. By the way, I just had a quick thought, and Greg Wyshynski is aboard here in a couple of moments. Zach, let me bounce this one off you before I bounce it off Greg. Greg will intimately know. He may have been there for this game. There was a rather famous fight in the rivalry between the Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins. It involved Aaron Asham and Jay Beagle. And it didn't go very well for Jay Beagle. Flash KO for Asham. And on the way to the box, he did the CM Punk go to sleep. You know, it'd be great. As one of the things that we love about the Carolina Hurricanes is they will lean into just about anything, turn any negative into a positive. See when, Don Cherry used to call them hot dogs all the time for their celebrations, just leaning into it hard. If they could lean into the boring chants every time they score, they do the go to sleep. That would, in my tiny little hockey brain, really make my day. Do you remember, by the way? Remember that one? Or were you too young? Were you too young even for that memory? Were you too young for that one?
No, I remember that one.
Oh, okay.
I remember that one. Yeah. That one lanes with me.
Do you remember when Vegas won the Stanley Cup, young man? Do you remember way back when?
That was when my brain just started remembering things when I could formulate those.
Okay.
Stuff. So, yeah, barely. It's in there, but barely.
All right. It's somewhere crammed at the back. All right. I want to get to Wish as soon as possible here. We have a lot to go over, both on the ice, off the ice as well. Sweeney with the 2-year contract extension. We'll get to that, and the Boston Bruins coming up in a couple of moments. In the meantime, Daily Outline is provided by and presented by and powered by our friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more with North America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel. And coming up on the program today, as always, it's Tuesday. That means MvsW Tuesdays with the one and only Greg Wyshynski from ESPN, Locker Cleanout. We'll talk about the Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets. Sweeney with the 2-year contract extension. I wonder how much that was sort of spurned along and moved along by what happened with Rick Tocchet, and we'll talk about the conference finals. Both the game you will see tonight and then the Oilers and Stars, which we will see tomorrow. In the meantime, this segment is a presentation of our friends at Budweiser. I don't know why I'm trying to sound like a combination of like Edward.
Yeah, what happened there?
I don't know. I was like going for like CBS war correspondent circa like 1943. Budweiser is encouraging buds to make time. You get a little older, and stuff happens in your brain. Budweiser is encouraging buds to make time for playoffs. Not excuses. Every goal, every check, every win is better enjoyed with your buds. Phone a bud, text a bud, ping a bud, and call out their excuses for bailing on the playoffs. After all, the playoffs are the most wonderful time of the year. Make them count. When it's springtime, it's go time. And right now, it's go time to Raleigh, home of game -- 1 here between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Florida Panthers. Our good friend for MvsW Tuesdays from ESPN, Greg Wyshynski. Hello, Wish. How are you? What a tastefully decorated hotel room. What is that painting behind you? I'm always curious in hotel art. It's some type of art thing.
Fallopian tubes, from what I can gather.
Oh,
my
wow.
Wife, weird
Sound like
weird
Borat.
transition, Greg.
Yeah.
My wife wanted to once create an Instagram account that chronicled the art inside of all of the hotel rooms we stayed in. I still lament the fact that she never got around to it, because I think it's an amazing idea. Raleigh is dope. I got here last night. Many of our Canadian listeners will not understand this, but there is a place called Cookout in Raleigh.
Cookout?
It is in other states too in the U.S.
What is it?
This is a place where you can get you get a combo meal, and the combo meal is a double cheeseburger.
Oh my God.
And then you get your pick of 2 sides, and the sides are like onion rings, a quesadilla, a corn dog. Like you're getting an entirely second meal as the sides. And then you finish it off with the soda of your choice. So there's one across the street from me, which is deadly.
Nice.
I got it. I sat at this very desk, and I binged the last 2 episodes of Andor on Disney Plus. If you're a Star Wars fan, you haven't watched Andor, or if you're a fan of like World War II spycraft, highly recommend binging
I do like that.
Andor. And so I was a happy boy last night here in the hotel, eating just absolute crap and streaming Star Wars in my first night in Raleigh.
Staring at fallopian tubes on the wall.
Yeah. I was inspired. It's weird. I was staring at my wall and I woke up and I painted a Georgia O'Keeffe. I don't know what was going on. I was just inspired by my hotel room.
My wife is an artist. At university, I dated an art major, so I get that one. I get that very hip art joke, Georgia O'Keeffe.
If we stacked up every member of the hockey media, there's many of them here in Raleigh, there's many of them on the other series. If we stacked up everybody in the hockey media and said, which one of these people most likely dated an artist at university, you'd be like Rantanen in the Conn Smythe race right now. You'd be running away with that so much.
The girl, and this is for our Canadian listeners and viewers more than anything else, the girl that I dated in university, Jane Bateman, who's now in Canmore, raising a lovely family of her own. She's the cousin of noted Canadian artist Robert Bateman. You don't know who Robert Bateman is, and I get that, and that's fine. But trust me, he's a big deal in Canada here. Not like Group of Six.
He's not the guy that paints the hockey stuff, is he?
That's Ken Danby. That's Ken Danby.
That guy's so famous that Ovechkin has like a collection of his. Like he collects the guy's paintings. It's impressive.
Whoa, Ovechkin collects Ken Danby's?
Really? There is an artist from Canada that does paintings and whatever's of hockey, of like the NHL. And Ovechkin, as part of his like celebration in like breaking the Gretzky record, I think, was gifted one of these paintings because he collects them. And I was like, wow, say what you will about Ovechkin, but the hockey bona fides was somebody who was an art collector but only dabbles in hockey art. It's pretty good, man. That's not. I'm gonna say this, and don't get mad at me, Chad.
Okay.
It's kind of what you'd expect from a Canadian and not a Russian, if I'm being honest.
You know what I sort of bemoan, because and now we're starting to get more, and you see a lot of it online. I really dig it. It's awesome. Oh, by the way, it's Tony Harris. So I thought this was like the Ken Danby picture of like the goaltender, with the Ken Dryden Crouch. That's who I was thinking of.
Oh yeah.
But this is a more contemporary artist. This, according to Zach, is an Ottawa-based artist by the name of Tony Harris. That's who he collects. You know what I've always bemoaned? So here's my thing about hockey that I don't know what it is about this sport. I think I find hockey inherently funny too, but why are there no great hockey jokes? Have you ever thought about this? Like, it is the one sport that just can't laugh at itself. There are some, difference between the Calgary Flames and a bra. A bra has 2 cups. Ha ha ha. But like, there's not like really good. Like, golf's got a lot of great jokes, but like, there's no great Canadian hockey jokes.
You know what? No. Okay. So most of the hockey jokes that I know are sex jokes that have hockey in them. So you're right. Those aren't necessarily hockey jokes. You've hit on something where the best jokes from hockey are all cup related. Why? Yeah. Name your reference. Why can't Connor McDavid go to Starbucks? Because every time he orders coffee, they pour it into his hands because he has no cup. Just stuff like that. All of it. Yeah. You're right. It's all cup related hockey.
The only way you'll get your name on a cup is if you go to Starbucks.
There it is. There it is.
There it is.
Golf has the best jokes, and I have to imagine it's because you have the most time during a golf, like playing golf, to just like crack jokes about what you're doing.
Think about jokes. Fast. Too fast to think about jokes, like like when the game's over, you're allowed to still think about hockey, right? Like you don't have to at that moment actually come up with the joke. No, is that how it has to happen? Have to have baseball.
Well, I mean, according to Marner, it's too soon. You haven't really thought about hockey at all in the last 24 to 48 hours.
Look, so first of all, do we have the Marner clip? Do we have the Marner clip, Zach? Where there's one thing that we should probably point out here. Listen to the tense that Marner is speaking in as he addresses the media. Here's Marner this morning.
I've always loved my time here. I've loved being here. Like I said to you guys the other night, I've been so grateful, and I haven't processed anything yet. It's still so fresh, and losing sucks.
Not I love my time here. I loved my time here. As we try to put the accent on the right syllable here on how Marner and what Marner is trying to tell us, and put on our hockey player decoder ring, the presence of the D in the word love probably gives us a pretty good indication, Wish.
The presence of the D and the love. So the thing about Marner that I found interesting today.
Who said hockey has no comedians? Okay.
The thing I found interesting about Marner today is like multiple times he talked about not having had a chance to sit down with his wife to have the conversation yet. And like when players say that, Marek, it's not like, oh, we're going to sit down and see how much I should re-sign for. I mean, like, that's not the conversation that you have with your loved one. The conversation you have with your loved one is, how does Anaheim strike you? Mm-hmm. So that was the tell for me, was the anytime you're sitting down with your families to discuss future plans. Again, the Pollyanna approach to that is she could just be like, I want to stay here for the benefit of being close to friends and family or raising a young child. Sure. But most of the time it's, hey, listen, where are we going? We're going to throw the dart at the map and figure out where we're going next, because it ain't going to be here.
Before we get to tonight and some off-ice stuff, this is still the story that dominates the headlines. I was there as a spectator with my two boys on Sunday. And one of the highlights of it, I mean, no, like I haven't taken them to an NHL. We've just been too busy. I haven't taken them to an NHL game once this year. And so my wife, after Matthew scored on Friday, I was in Woodstock, Ontario, at a baseball tournament with my youngest boy, and she's like, "I just bought tickets for you three." I'm like, "The game's not even over yet. Like, this game's it's only 1-0." So anyway, so surprise, off to Game 7. I figured at Game 7 I'll make up for not going to a couple of games this year, but I digress. There were a number of things. I mean, everyone's going to focus on the jerseys hitting the ice and the hat and the beer splashed under the Maple Leafs blue line, and the beer thrown at the bench. And the chants, including a "Let's Go Oilers" chant, which started at the section right in front of me and then over to the side. What goes through your mind when you're watching that game? Is it just the obvious "here we go again," or is it something deeper, Greg?
First off, congratulations. I think it's good parenting to introduce your children to generational trauma, which is obviously something that you accomplished by taking them to Game 7 of a Leaf series. My thought was that, maybe this time there will be a shock to the system. So couple things about the Leafs loss. I found it utterly hilarious that the Panthers all did their song and dance about this is the toughest Leafs team we've played. The pressures of Toronto, it's theory. Brad Marsh. You know what my theory is.
What's your theory?
Yeah, and we probably have the same theory. Go ahead.
My theory is because they don't want them to change. They want the Maple Leafs to stay exactly the way this team. Don't look at the score. That was a tough team to play against. We got lucky. We got some bounces, but man, I'll tell you, if I'm true living, I don't move this an inch to the right or to the left.
Of course. Why would you want any of it to change? Why would you want the guy who screams at his teammates and then does dick on the score sheet in the most important games of the season to ever leave Toronto? You want Mitch Marner there all the time. You want him to be a Leaf for life if you're the Florida Panthers. So yes, you and I, to the surprise of no one, completely simpatico about the ulterior motives of that. Although I do think there is something to be said for guys like Paul Maurice and guys like Brad Marchand correctly identifying that the pressures in Toronto are different than the pressures of other places. I was talking to somebody today about that.
Okay.
They were asking me about what's the difference between a Ranger and a Leaf? Like the Rangers have won one cup since 1940. That's a pretty long run of failure and lack of success. And I say this, well, the difference is that when you're a Ranger and March hits, all of the papers aren't talking about the upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs. They're talking about spring training.
Yep.
And then maybe the Knicks go on a run. And then maybe the Jets have a new coach. There's nothing about playing in New York in which you are the focal point of attention as a hockey player unless you're playing for the cup. And then even then, it probably is depending on what the baseball teams are doing. Yep. In Toronto, you are the center of attention. You are the story. You are a high school football team in a small Texas town. and everybody knows your name. They all know where you live. They all know who your friends are. They all know your wife's name, and they know where to find you if you fail. And those are the pressures that we're dealing with. And Marner spoke. Marner kind of talked around it. I know I was listening to our buddy Steve Dangle's podcast about this because Lord knows there are like 3 people that I pay attention to when the Leafs fail. Dangle, down goes Brown, and
he's in Ottawa.
James Myrtle, just because we're old bloggers. But they were spelling out all of the things that Mitch has had to go through off the ice, like vandalism and taunting and like his family being bought into it. Like it's insane. It's insane what these guys have had to go through. So as much as I think the Florida Panthers were having a laugh about, yeah, you should definitely keep this team together. They're very good. There is a truth to what they're saying about the pressures in this town breaking players in a way that they wouldn't be broken somewhere else.
Here's the thing, though, and Matthew Tkachuk referred to this on Sunday as well. Talked about how it was on Chicklets on the Monday. It popped up as a guest on the show, and he talked about how this team were in any other market, they would be incredible. My point through all of this is, and no one's advocating for the type of abuse that a lot of players, and most specifically in Toronto, Mitch Marner, because he's grown up in Toronto and played in the GTHL and 2 hours away in London and Maple Leaf and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No one's advocating for that. But every other market wants a fan base like this that empties their pockets generation after generation after generation. I caught a lot of heat for what I said about Florida and the elbow room and no one showing up when the cup was there and all that type. But the point that I was trying to get across was it's a little rich for a revenue sharing team to talk about how awesome hockey is here, when it's a team that's been propped up with checks from the team that has the quote-unquote psycho fan base. Like, take a step back here. If it wasn't for Montreal, New York, Toronto, we all know the big revenue generators here, Boston, writing revenue sharing checks, there wouldn't be a Southern expansion to have a success with a Southern expansion. That was the only point that I was trying to get across on yesterday's show. Are you picking up what I'm putting down there about it's great, no pressure, that's wonderful. You leave the rink, you're just an anonymous citizen. People may look at you and go, is he a football player? He plays hockey. That's the thing on the ice. Are you with me on that side? Because I just think that it's a little rich to complain about Maple Leafs fans who, in essence, float a lot of the league with their pocketbooks.
There's one thing I don't want to forget to mention here, but I'll get to the answer to your question first. Paul Maurice, I think, did make mention of the fact that Toronto is an engine for the league, and maybe that was a winking, acknowledgement of how the Panthers have benefited from it over the years.
Thanks for the checks, Larry.
And I think Marchand really brought it home about the Toronto part of this, which is you go through all of the things that, say, like Mitch Marner has gone through, knowing that when Matthew Tkachuk wins a cup for the Florida Panthers, maybe they'll build the Tkachuk statue after the third cup. Mitch Marner scored the game-winning goal in a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final to give the Leafs the cup for the first time since 1967. They are finishing the statue as the fans leave the arena.
No. Hold on a second. It's not a statue, because if you walk about 2 blocks north from Scotiabank Arena, there's a little place there on Front Street called the Hockey Hall of Fame. And even before the statue goes up, they will already start the engraving, right? If anybody doubts what I'm talking about, go back and have a look at the roster of the 1967 team, okay? And tell me how many are in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's like all of them.
Oh yeah,
all of them. You win in Toronto. Gotta get people. Yeah, you're off to the hall.
Got to get people to induction weekend. So Marchand was right. I thought he had first of all, his press conference at the end of Game 7 was an all-timer. Like, he was so eloquent and smart and interesting. But he made the point of like that you go through all of this in Toronto because you know if you are ever able to achieve what you set out to achieve there, that defines your career. You never have to worry about it. And in fact, now Mitch Marner, if he does leave, we haven't talked about it yet, but I think he probably will.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always unless he LeBrons it and comes back home at some point at the end of his career and wins, then like it's going to be a part of his bio that he was an Ontario boy that couldn't win the cup for the Leafs and was part of teams that had the talent to do so but could never put it together. Now, the thing I wanted to ask you though is the fervor that we see in Toronto, the passion, the plan the parade, delusion.
The passion, as there was once a sign at Leafs TV. On the one side, it was, remember that, the passion that unites us all, and on the other side was the passion that pays us all. Anyhow, continue.
The passion that pays us all.
Yeah.
Do you think the drought fuels it? Like, my wife's a Cubs fan. She's not really a Cubs fan anymore. They won, and that satisfied that itch.
Story's
that
over.
Scratched the itch.
Yeah.
She's now a Mets fan. Part of that is, being a Mets fan. But there was never her when I met her, she was a huge Cubs fan. Do you think that some of this mania that surrounds the Toronto Maple Leafs is because of the pressure cooker of not having won? And what would happen if they did win at some point?
I don't think they would lose fans. I think they might lose some of the casuals that are along for the party. But I don't know.
Don't you think they'd lose fervor, though? Don't you think they'd lose passion, though? Isn't the chase the sexy part of this relationship?
It has to lead somewhere, Greg. Like, eventually it does. Remind me, by the way, to get back to Marchand. I want to bring up one point with Marchand with you. It's a great question. This again, like it's the dog that caught the car. What do we do now? Like I've wondered about what that feeling will be like because Leafs fans they want to be happy, but I don't know what happy feels like if the emotion preceding happy is anxiety. Like. What what would that celebration be like? What will that feeling be like? And what will it be like the next morning when the sun comes up? Honestly, it's a really, really bad sports talk radio answer. And the answer is, I don't know. I don't think anybody does.
I don't think anybody does either. Like I think about that sometimes. So I think about that sometimes if the Leafs won and they have a parade and everything's good and people are like, they could win again next year. Like what is Steve Dangle going to just be yelling about how Brendan Shanahan wouldn't let him trade Mitch Marner? Does he become like a nostalgia critic? like what if Leaf fans are happy? What happens? What happens to the cottage industry of outrage?
What happens if Leaf fans are happy? Hang on a second. That was fucking awesome. What happens if Leafs fans are happy? I don't think no one's ever said that to me my whole life. Oh my God, Greg! What happens?
That's because again, the reason you love talking to me about this shit, the reason people love having me on their shows to talk about this is I'm outside the bubble. I don't live in the center of the hockey universe.
Totally.
The reason you've never heard it is because it's such an alien concept to even think about a Leafs fan being happy that it's never actually been brought up to you in all of your years living in Toronto.
No, it never has. Well, speaking of that, did you notice? And again, I think Brad Marchand is one of the smartest people in the NHL, full stop. He understands, obviously he's an elite level player. Also, he understands media like few, if any others. And he knows how to leave a trail. And he knows how to leave breadcrumbs or Easter eggs or however you want to refer to it. Did you catch what he did on Sunday? There was one thing.
Are you trying to say that he accepted him becoming a Leaf? That he was a Leaf fan?
I grew up a Leaf fan.
Yeah.
That's something you go back to on July 1st. when all of a sudden Brad Marchand and Brad Treliving are on the same stage. Like I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs and I say, you know what? They need a 2C. They need at least one, probably two top four wingers, and they need a number 1D. And I say they're all becoming free agents on Florida. There's Bennett, there's Marchand, there's Ekblad, and they just dusted the Maple Leafs, again. Did you not look at Brad Marchand just by him saying, I grew up a Leafs fan? That was a chumming of the waters that was a July 1st. That was a chum the water for July 1st.
I kind of think they're going to get two of them. I kind of think Marchand is one if they're willing to meet his price point, because it is going to be quite high, and there are going to be other teams.
Yes,
they're going to want to add the Brad Marchand special sauce to their roster.
For those that said he was done with his big paydays, guess again.
No,
guess again.
I think Ekblad is an ideal addition to the Toronto Blue Line.
Yeah.
I definitely think they're going to raid the cupboard of the Panthers. It only makes sense to try to become what's defeated you. The question I have though, Marek, is that if the Leafs sign Brad Marchand and then they lose another game 7, does that add to his record, or is it just
sleeper agent?
Does he have to be an opponent?
All of a sudden, it's an own goal by 63. Yeah. Oh my God, Brad Marchand.
Oh my God! You see, this is the
Dave Hebner. What have you done?
Do all the time. Every time there's like a positive thing, like we'll get Marchand, we'll exercise the demons, and you immediately go to Brad Marchand, sleeper agent, own goal, game 7, and he rips off the jersey and he's got a spoked bee underneath it. Oh my God! Like just one moment of happiness, one moment of bliss.
I don't know if they get 2 out of the 3. I don't know if they get any of the 3, to be honest with you. I can still see Bill Zito moving heaven and earth. Specifically for Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
But the presence of Seth Jones, I put it this way. I could see, of the 3, I could probably see Ekblad.
I think someone, hello? Goodbye. Bye-bye. No, I'm fine. Thank you. No, I'm fine. Thank you.
She just wants to help her.
Sorry about that.
She just wants to know if you want to change the art to other.
Did I just shake away the curator of the art?
Yeah.
No, your point's taken about like the resign. I mean, all the guys that we ever thought were gonna, like Reinhart, like resigns, like all the guys that had a chance to go outside of some of the peripheral players like Lomberg and Ekman Larson have all resigned. Bennett's the really interesting one for me. Like Marchand is. Maybe they don't want to commit the years that
Montour. Montour was a tough loss for them too. Montour was
a tough loss for them. Ekblad, like the fact that he hasn't signed a contract yet may be the tell that they could, and the fact that they went and got Seth Jones might be the tell that he might have his days numbered there. But Bennett's the really interesting one. Like someone will just break the bank for that guy, don't you think? For what he can give you in the postseason, for what he gives you in the regular season, for the hit him high, hit him hard of it all, like. I feel like there's going to be someone that gives him a monster offer. Might be Toronto, might be somebody else. And then it's going to be, well, what do you want to really do here? You know, do you want to run it back and see if you can go for, a three-peat or whatever, or do you want to go break the bank somewhere else?
Okay. Do you remember years and years ago on the old show, one day I started out the program by saying, Greg, I've seen the future of hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Who was I talking about?
McDavid.
Who else was on that team?
Bennett.
Want to get the tongues wagging? Want to get the tongues wagging here again?
That's right. Come home and play with Connor.
Against the Calgary
Hey, listen,
Flames,
if they fall short again, that could be, who knows? But I don't know. It's.
You know what? I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Just back to Seth Jones really quickly. You know, one of the things and it's an interesting when you start to think this way. And listen, you're gonna see it game 1 tonight. Florida Panthers against Carolina Hurricanes. You saw the Carolina Hurricanes facing off against the Washington Capitals a week ago. One of the games that I like to play now, and there's someone that I text with all the time now, where every single game, as we try to identify which players in the NHL would fit on the Carolina Hurricanes. You know, like Mikko Rantanen was not a fit on the Carolina Hurricanes. Like the way that he plays, like that is not That's not Carolina. It's great for Dallas. It was great for Colorado. Obviously, it is not Carolina. Have you played the would he fit on Carolina game? I mean, they're such a unique team. A, you have to be in tremendous shape. B, you have to really be able to think. And, Tulski is very much of the mind that there are players that fit with what Rod Brindamore does. And he's got, him and his staff seem to have a real eye for it. Taylor Hall has been hand to glove. Logan Stankoven has been hand to glove. This is kudos to his staff on this one. Seth Jones can play on the Carolina Hurricanes all day long.
Yeah.
And when you watch them live, when you watch the Panthers live and you just watch Seth Jones and you watch his reads and you watch how he takes over, he took over that game. Him and Marchand were the two best players on the ice, and I'll default to Seth Jones, but Seth Jones was incredible.
He was great.
I look at Seth Jones and go like to me, it's become like one of these, for me anyhow, ultimate compliments that, you know what? That guy could play on the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't know if you ever do that. Can this guy play?
I do, because I think it's a specific type. Like you said, I don't think Rantanen necessarily was the best fit. I do think Gensel was the right fit. I think he kind of fits the purview of what the Hurricanes do.
I agree.
I was scrolling through my phone. I'm sorry, and I was trying to find the quote from. I talked to Svechnikov this morning, and about the Hurricanes offense. Now, obviously, there's a couple of X factors in this series, which we'll probably get to in a second. The series itself. Mm-hmm. One is the way that the Hurricanes play at home. They have home ice. They're, I think, 5-0 at home. Mm-hmm. Goals against under 1.5, goals for over 4. They've been incredible in Raleigh. The other X factor is Svechnikov, who was not there in the previous series against the Panthers, in which the Panthers swept them in a series of 1-goal games.
Yep.
I was reminded today that one of those games was a game 1 that came within 12 seconds of going to a 5th overtime.
That's right.
I need to find some energy drinks before I head to the rink tonight. Yep. But I said to Svechnikov, do you think there's enough offense in this room to get past a team like Florida? And his answer was easily. He said, easily. I think we've got lots of offense. Easily, Marek. There's easily enough scoring in this Carolina room to get past the Florida Panthers and play for a Stanley Cup for the first time. Easily without Rantanen, easily without Gensel. Easily, there's enough offense. I know why he's saying it. I get why he's saying it, but easily was a very, very declarative way to say that they think they have enough scoring to beat this Florida team.
First of all, he's not going to say we're screwed. No one outside of me is scoring goals here. I've got 8 goals. All these other guys are pop gun. You're just making popcorn here. First of all, he has to say that. Second of all, we all know that that's not the accent that the Carolina had. Carolina plays a really tough, aggressive game, and this is one of the reasons why they're volume shooters, right? They don't have the luxury of we're waiting for the perfect shot. They're just throw it on net, 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 throw it on net.
That's too loud. Brind'Amore's going to say you're lazy.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not.
Lazy take from somebody who hasn't watched the team.
It's not a lazy take. And if there's any team that I watch a ton of, and specifically this year, it's been the Carolina Hurricanes. But I don't necessarily think it's wrong. Given the way that they play when they don't have the puck, it makes perfect sense to me why when they do have the puck, they throw a lot of it on net. And I don't think a lot of their shots. A lot of the shots that they shoot on net are intended to score. I think what they try to do is make rebounds because that is a fast team on pucks. And as you've seen with the big phenomenon, and I shouldn't say big, or one of the things that we're seeing now from, although it is changing and players are starting to get the puck up a little bit more, what defense do, defensemen don't shoot to score anymore. They shoot to make rebounds, but it's only from the point. And we saw this with a lot of Pete DeBoer teams. Shoot to make rebounds, shoot to make rebounds. I think the Carolina Hurricanes shoot to make rebounds, and that's why they shoot from everywhere. I don't think they're trying to score with every shot. It would be foolish. And every now and then you're going to get that Slavin goal in Game 1 against Washington. In the Toronto series, there was that Marner weird one that went in on Bobrovsky as to taunt Zach and say oh, that's the Carolina goal. That's his audition tape. Send that one to Rod Brind'Amour and Eric Tulski. Look he can score the Carolina goal. But I really think they don't always shoot to score. They shoot to make rebounds in chaos because they're so aggressive on the puck that they can get the follow up. That's why I think they do it. And if Rod Brind'Amour wants to think that's a lazy take, then okay.
Let me give you 4 Marner places. You tell me which one piques your interest.
Carolina.
And this is just pure speculation.
Carolina.
I mean, we know Carolina's hot for him.
Yes.
Okay, we know Carolina's hot for him. What about Vegas?
Vegas does not go out the way that Vegas went out and not do something about it. And when Vegas does something about it, they do something huge about it. So yes, absolutely, I would put Vegas into that conversation.
What about now the one that I had heard for like a year, because they're obviously going to look to make a splash at some point, is Utah. What do you think about that?
The person that I wonder about for Utah is not so much Marner as it is Tavares, because I look at that team and look at all the young players specifically down the middle and say, like, look, you're like a third line center on like a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs at this point. We have a 2C spot available here. We have a spot higher in the lineup, and we're prepared to go short-term big money because we need you to show our kids how to A, play, and B, be a professional. We'll give you like 2 years, $14 million. Does your family want to come to Utah? Can we rent you for a couple of years, John? That's where I'm curious about you. I'm more curious about Tavares than Marner with Utah.
What do you think about Marner in Anaheim?
With Joel Quenneville, I think that team is really close to being good. There's still probably one more year of some pain.
That is a very, very different media market than Toronto.
But the thing is, don't forget too, I think Mitch Marner likes a big stage.
Okay, that brings me to...
hang on a second here. Mitch Marner, he kind of like, trying to give this a soft landing, helped navigate himself to the London Knights from the Don Mills Flyers of the GTHL.
Yeah.
I think he likes a big stage. I really do. I think that I don't know that, like, in the back of Marner's mind, like, oh man, I just had the Toronto experience. Now I want to go away and hide. So that leads me to your next one. Go ahead.
Leads me to my next one, a big stage. Pretty prestigious team. Come on, baby, don't you want to go?
Sweet home, Chicago.
Sweet home, Chicago. What do you think?
I could see that.
Marner and Bedard?
Absolutely. That's the layup, right?
That's the one that makes they're not close. They're still not close though. That's the issue. Like Marner would have to be patient there.
Yeah.
And the thing about Chicago that bugs me, and it's the same thing in some of these other examples. The media part of it, or the market part of it, is one part of it. I mean, you could say he wants a stage, maybe he wants it to be a little bit quieter, but where does he want to raise a family? That's obviously a big part of it too. But the other part of it for me is like, I don't want Mitch Marner to go someplace where he has to be the guy. Like, I would rather see him in Vegas. I would rather see him in Colorado. I would rather see him someplace where there are some, for lack of a better term, adults in the room that may or may not have a ring on their finger who have done this before, where Mitch doesn't have to be the guy fake yelling at the team and then doing nothing. Like, I would much rather him just be able to exist, and then Eichel shoulders the load, or Pietrangelo shoulders the load, or McKinnon shoulders the load. Like, that's the ideal destination for me for Mitch Marner.
Back to my can he play on Carolina game.
There you go.
He
who shoulders the load there? The coach.
He's a really good athlete. He's a perennial. Yeah. He's in consideration for the Selke Trophy. He works hard. He kills penalties. He can shoot. Like, he's not going to score 50 goals, but as we've seen, I just brought up the Bobrovsky goal from the last round. He's a smart hockey player.
He would be one of many. He would be part of a Borg collective instead of having to be.
Yes.
Yeah, he'd be part of a Borg collective instead of having to be himself. Like, he would just be part of a team then. And I'm here in Raleigh. No disrespect. It's like a 5-reporter town. Like, it is a great place to play, a great place to live, and a great place to learn under a coach. I mean, I talked to Taylor Hall last week, man, and I was struck by. Look, I mean, Taylor Hall's not going to have 31 teams trying to sign him. Let's be honest. But he did say that the commitment to Carolina was very much about Rod. And very much about learning more from Rod Brind'Amour.
Everybody says that. All those guys say that.
I think Mitch could use a furthering of his education. I think Mitch could get a master's degree if he played for Rod Brind'Amour.
Look, man. Listen, they asked for Marner before when they were looking to move Rantanen.
Yeah.
So like no secret that there's interest with the Hurricanes. He is a fit. He has the style of play that fits with what Carolina does. He's a good athlete. He works hard. He's defensively minded. He's a really smart hockey player. To me, the best hockey fit is probably Carolina. Yeah. And again, like it's not every player that can play. I mean it as a compliment. Like not every player can play for the Carolina Hurricanes. Like you might be a superstar player. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to play the way the Carolina Hurricanes do. Now, by the way, speaking of Hurricanes, let me transition. I mentioned this off the top. Were you at the game where Asham KO'd Beagle?
No, I watched. I remember watching that game though.
Okay, I thought you might have been at that one.
The go to sleep thing.
Yeah. Given how the Carolina Hurricanes continue to lean into the boringness of all of it, right away, like on social media, it's so good, so awesome. I just love this organization. Right away, goal celebration.
I mean, it'd be punk rock because they don't believe they're boring.
I know.
Like they believe what they do is exciting. They, the Devils used to lean into the idea of being Salmonex on ice. Like they loved playing hockey that put people to sleep. It was kind of their thing. Carolina doesn't believe they're a boring team, like to a man.
Listen, I don't think they're. Here's why I don't think they're boring, is when their system breaks down, there's a lot of available ice. So the minute things mess up, and it's hockey, right? They will off a shin pad, off toe of a skate, like things are going to happen. The chance that it creates for the other team is a grade A chance.
And then Freddie's
and there's a lot of ice available. That's why I like Carolina. Like you watch how they play man on man everywhere. That means there's a lot of ice available. And when's the last time like you've looked at the ice and went like, holy smokes, where'd all this ice come from? It's because Carolina's skating in your hip pocket.
That's why I think this is a bad matchup for them.
I
think it's a bad matchup for them because I think Florida has a lot of finishers that'll take advantage of those moments. Yeah. And the other thing too is like Carolina is at its best when it's like a boa constrictor, and it's wrapping around you and possessing the puck and not giving you room to do the things that you want to do, and then you get frustrated. Like the Devils were palpably frustrated because they didn't have Jack Hughes, but also because they couldn't do much.
Yeah.
And then the Capitals, like were a pretty freewheeling offensive team in the regular season, and they couldn't do anything, and they get frustrated. But the problem with Florida, as we saw in the previous series against Toronto, they never get frustrated. They're unflappable, and now they have a ring on their finger as proof of concept. So the way that Carolina plays will humble 31 teams in this league. And unfortunately, they're playing the 32nd team. And I think that Florida is kind of a tailor-made team. I still think it's going to be about a 6-game series. I think we might see some Splitsvilles in the first 4, but ultimately Florida is going to win this series.
Interesting. One of the things
you like Carolina here?
I put it this way: I want to like Carolina. I want to like Carolina in this series. I really want Carolina. Like again, like I just went through. We all went through just watching the Florida Panthers go like, yeah, we're down 2 Cobb. Who cares? And just come back and like then does the Maple Leafs in a game 7. But
I no joke. Like after the matchup was set and I had to make my picks and stuff, I spent an hour. On like Natural Stat Trick and other places trying to find
the way
to believe that Carolina could win this game. And again, Svechnikov's an X factor. Home ice is an X factor. Freddie's playing great. There are reasons to believe that it could be different for Carolina, but I just think this matchup is not the one that's right for them. And I just think Florida is so they're just as locked in as we've seen a team be locked in like the last 15 years.
It's a great team. Are you? Yeah. So the thing about Svechnikov, one point here. I'm curious your thoughts on this one. At the beginning of every season, he is always, like every single year, Greg, he is always my dark horse for the Rocket Richard.
Yeah.
Like I look at him and go like, how does this guy, like when you go to the DB, how does it not like 45, 47, 56, 62, 48? Like how does it not say, we know the injuries are the major issue here, but like this is Svechnikov. This was the kid they drafted 2nd overall from the Barrie Colts. This is that guy. And I always say to myself, like, this guy's got a Rocket Richard trophy in him somewhere, right? And it's not like a surprise one, like, whoa, coming out of the lockout, Jonathan Cheechoo snapping in 50+ and he's winning the Rocket. No, it's not like that. It's like we've seen this coming. The potential has always been there for Andrei Svechnikov.
I think he's great. I don't know if he's like that level of great as far as like a 47 goal season.
He's so talented. His release is so good.
Maybe that's just by virtue of where he plays. Like you got to factor in the system too, as well. I was just trying to look up who is what's the highest single season goal total. Maybe Zach can look it up. Highest single season goal total for a Hurricane. It's probably Eric Stahl one of those years, right, where he had that huge goal scoring season in the aughts. That had to probably be it, but I don't know. He's good, but he's inconsistent and he's always hurt. Would be the reasons why, I guess.
Is that bad? I'm new to hockey. Is that bad? Inconsistency and injury? Can you talk to me like I'm five?
It's inconsistent and always hurt. Nick Ehlers is still getting like $9 million this summer. So Ian
in the chat says Eric Stahl 2006.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I think it was that Stahl year. That's my point. It's like there's not been a lot of years
45
goal scoring totals have been robust.
Yeah, Zach jumps in with 45 goals. 45.
So I think it's probably a symptom of the system. It's the same thing they used to say about like Elias and Niedermeyer. If they were on another team, they would have put up ungodly numbers. But unfortunately,
dude, Patrick Elias, if he played on like the Detroit Red Wings, I've always thought about that. Like Elias should be
in the Hall of Fame already.
I know.
Yeah, he'd be in the Hall of Fame already. We're running out of time. I got to tell you what happened at the press conference today.
No, I want to get there. Oh, by the way, Blaine Stoughton from the Hartford Whalers. 56, of course. That's when they had Mike Rogers. I love Stoughton and Rogers. Anyway, digress. So medicine. You have heard of Blaine Stoughton.
No, I have not.
You have, Greg. Blaine Stoughton?
Not. No, not a once.
Mike Rogers.
No. Sorry. Late 70s Whalers. Not in my wheelhouse.
This is like I just found out my neighbor is Spider-Man. What? Or that your neighbor's never heard of Spider-Man, to be more. Or that too. You don't Blaine Stoughton? Good Lord, man. How have you made it this far in life? Okay, medicine balls, exercise balls, press conferences, Matthew Tkachuk. You were there, I believe. You were there.
Yes. Let's set it up. So in the Raleigh Arena, the area where they have the press conferences has been carved out in an area where the teams would normally get their workouts in, I guess, or at least the road.
It's called the gym.
So they have a bunch of black curtains up around the press conference area, and on the other side of one of the curtains is literally all of the Panthers' equipment, their bikes, their weights. Bobrovsky was doing Olympic deadlifts before the game, which is
he's doing deads,
a whole other topic. Yeah, and also the medicine balls, and so you have this absurd situation. For those who don't know, like the press conference room is usually a room. Like it's usually like it's just off on the side. It's not where other players are preparing for the game that night.
Yeah.
And so you had Taylor Hall and Jordan Stahl doing their pregame press for game one. And on the other side of the curtain, you have several Florida Panthers all working out during this. And I think there was a little bit of angst about their workout area being in the middle of all of this media stuff.
Yeah.
And so as Taylor Hall starts answering a question, we just hear thump, 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 thump. And I'm in the back row of the media. Everybody else in there can't see it. I'm in the back row, and I lean over, and it's Matthew Tkachuk hurling a medicine ball against a concrete wall over and over and over again. Keep in mind, this was not a sound we heard in the 15 minutes leading up to the press conference, nor did we hear it after Taylor Hall and Jordan Stahl left the dais. It was just during that time. And again, maybe it's a schedule conflict. Maybe that was Matthew Tkachuk throwing a medicine ball against the wall time. Just happened to coincide with the press conference.
That's all
hear me out, or they were being petulant about their situation, and Matthew Tkachuk decided to interrupt the media availability by throwing a medicine ball against the concrete wall over and over and over again as Taylor Hall tried to answer a question about how big game one is.
What do you think the answer is, Greg Wyshynski?
Now, I'm curious if anybody has actually like gone back and heard the answer, because like I have to imagine it was very loud. Like I have to imagine you can hear on the audio track the ball slapping against the concrete wall as Taylor Hall is answering, but it was hilarious. I tried to take a picture of it, but one of the members of the Panthers staff did not like me trying to take a picture of it. So
take a picture of Matthew Tkachuk firing the medicine ball off the wall.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Usually the players' workouts and, kicking around the soccer ball and stuff, that's off limits.
Yep.
And I understand that. No. But, I mean, again,
it's
not my fault. I decided to put the workout room inside of the media room. Like, it's not, I don't know what to tell you. Make the curtain longer, I guess. But it was, again, like, what a beautiful world we live in to have that level of petty antagonism. And they're all on the Panthers now.
I love the fact that they allowed 12-year-olds in the game still. People that behave like I would expect that like from my kids, right? And I think like I'm not casting aspersions on it. I think it's effing awesome. I think it's great. And you know what? There's a part of me, no matter how old I get, that's like I would do the same thing. I would do the exact same thing that Matthew Tkachuk did. And I'd want my team to do the exact same thing that Matthew Tkachuk did. Even if for no other reason than just to give them another log to burn on the I'm going to chase this guy around the ice fire.
It was loud enough where I believe the players were startled by it. Like, I'm just saying. It was pretty great. It was pretty great.
I didn't get a chance to talk much yesterday about Winnipeg Jets. I talked a lot about Mark Scheifele, and if you have anything to add about
I heard
that
situation, you were great on that, man. That was very
heartfelt. You know what? I can just listen. I know what I went through because I was on the air when my father started to go, and so I just shared that story of getting to the hospital and being able to hold his hand as he passed. And it's a beautiful. If anyone's ever had the experience, they know what it's like, and it really is a beautiful moment in life. Although it feels like it's a horror show, it's really not. But I can as someone who's lost both my parents, I can somehow understand that feeling, A, of losing a parent, and then B, also right away your brain snaps into what I need to do. And for Scheifele, I don't think that he allowed himself to start his process of grieving his father. This is just what I think, based on how I felt, until Thomas Harley scored.
Yeah.
And at that point, he started to allow himself to grieve because there was the authority of the day and the game, and this is my routine, and I'm going to go through it.
These guys' brains are like the Panama Canal. You know how the Panama Canal has all those like locks?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, where like the water goes to, and then the boat goes to the second one. Like you're right about the loss of a parent and how that rewires your brain, but it's also the way that these guys' brains are wired anyway. Like how many times do we go through a playoff and find out that someone very close to them passed away, or there was a problem with their child, or all this stuff that these guys are able to compartmentalize. And I don't know if it's a hockey player thing or a pro athlete thing. I tend to kind of believe it's a hockey player thing just because of how well they hide it along with their injuries and shit like that too. When I heard about the Scheifele news, I'm like, he's going to play. And he played. I mean, it's, an insane roller coaster of emotions that he went through.
You know what Claire said to me? She said, so we were talking on the phone. I was out of town at my kid's baseball tournament, and she's like, he's going to play. And I'm like, why do you say that so definitively? And she said, because if he doesn't, he's going to regret it his whole life.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's also really easy to kind of do it's what they would have wanted for me thing. Like that's an easy way to convince yourself that you should go ahead and yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that you'll always have an out when someone who's dedicated their own lives to your career or your success. You're always going to be able to use that, and that some ways is a gift. In their passing, it's just here's one more moment of motivation for you to go out and achieve your dreams.
Yeah, it was great when he scored, and it just crushed my heart when he was in the penalty box. Now, my theory is that, and I don't know who the referee was. I apologize to all the viewers and listeners. I should probably have the person's name handy. that it should have been a penalty shot, but they said let his team fight one for him. Give him a fight. I cannot put Steele at the dot. I can't do this to this guy. Give his team a chance. Give his team a chance to kill the penalty here. Did you feel the same way? Did you feel it should have been a penalty shot?
It was close. It was close, but I mean, again, penalty shots in a situation like that, even separate from the Scheifele thing, are few and far between.
They really are. I want to get your thoughts on a couple more things here before we wrap up. Is Dan O'Rourke and Francois Saint Laurent, according to Zach Phillips. I wasn't sure who the referee was who actually made the call on Scheifele. Nonetheless, oh God, how would? Hey, let me just personalize this. If you were either Saint Laurent or O'Rourke in that situation, how would you feel making that call if you were the referee?
Do you know who it is in that moment? Does that process for you in that moment?
How can it not? It's the story of the day. It's Mark Scheifele, and he's playing. You know it's double nickels. You know it's 55.
Yeah, I don't know.
I will say one thing for whichever official it was. They did the right thing, and I'm sure Scheifele would be like, you know what? What was it called? I fired at his shin pads. I was late getting back, and I tripped him. But I'm telling you, maybe I'm just soft. Like, there's part of me that would be like, you know what? No penalty.
Trying to say that these guys follow a narrative, Marek?
No, me. That's what I would be about it. I would be a bad official. That's what I'm saying.
Tim Peel would have given another penalty to someone else grieving just to even it out. He'd go to the bench and be like, "Sorry, coach, I got to find who on your bench had a personal tragedy. I have to even things up.
We're gonna call a penalty shot for both teams. Swerve." That one. Sweeney gets the extension from the Boston Bruins. I wonder how much this was. Look, we're gonna have a hard time attracting free agents if everyone thinks that this is a lame duck general manager. Like, I remember having a conversation, gosh, like a million years ago. Remember Teddy Purcell, Los Angeles Kings, Tampa Bay Lightning? So when he was coming out of Maine as a free agent, one of the teams he was talking to were the Toronto Maple Leafs, and his thought was, you know, I again, to Brad Marchand, I grew up a Leafs fan, etc. But I don't know how long John Ferguson is going to be there as a general manager. So if I sign, then I'm one of his guys. And if he's gone in half a year or whatever it was, I'm kind of on an island here. And that's why he signed with LA, Los Angeles Kings. So I wonder if that was just part of the motivation here with
So
you
got
to get some term here.
Isn't this like Cam Neely then saying that he believes there's still a window for this team, and maybe there has to be, considering who's under contract? Like the only
Swayman, McAvoy, Pasternak. Like, there's
only one way back, and it's to try to create as much stability as you can, despite changes. I've been running around Raleigh. They haven't hired a coach yet, have they?
Coach, no, not yet, sir.
What do you think there?
I'm wondering a lot about Marco Sturm now. I'm wondering about Jay Woodcroft, and I'm wondering about Marco Sturm too.
I mean, Jay Leach will be in the conversation probably there too. I know that they had talked briefly about like maybe elevating Jay Pandolfo from Boston University, but that probably isn't going to happen for that group.
I think
I don't know. It's interesting.
His Pandolfo's kid is playing with the program now, so he's like 2 years away of. Just to be blunt, Pandolfo's 2 years away from coaching his kid.
Yeah.
That's a really big draw. That's got to be a draw. That's like, how many, you're not going to have coach your kid at college. I don't know, man.
I mean, the draw would be you're the head coach of the Boston Bruins.
I get it, and you're getting a lot of money. I understand all that, but kids playing for the program, just a couple years away, showing up.
Daddy's in town. Daddy's got another job. He's coaching the Boston Bruins. He'll come watch you play on the weekends.
I can get Charlie to autograph a puck for you. Oh, not McAvoy. Okay, who do you want? Who do you want? Oh, it's right. Yeah, okay, Pasternak. Fine, I'll get you that puck. Listen, tonight's going to be interesting. the Carolina Hurricanes have been rested. I mean, they've done their business in both series, the gentleman sweeps. Now they're facing off against the Florida Panthers team. Although you can cynically say who didn't need the hot towels on Saturday, but it's a team that's hit their stride, right?
Yeah.
And I know you got a punt here, but do you have a quick thought on what you think tonight may look like?
Well, I took Panthers in 6 in the series. I think it's going to be a low-scoring grind. I think it is. I think Freddie Anderson's playing really well, and so I think that's one of the things that gives the Hurricanes a puncher's chance in this series. But I don't know. I these teams know each other really well, and I'll be interesting to see what the feeling out process looks like. Again, is it better to have just come off a Game 7 than to have gotten the rest that the Hurricanes have gotten? We shall see.
No.
But I tried, man. I really wanted to put the Hurricanes over, but Florida is just the team that I think will emerge again, which then leaves the possibility on the table, Jeff Marek, of back-to-back seasons of connecting flights between Fort Lauderdale and Edmonton. Oh my God!
Go back to that joy.
Took 10 years off my life from a travel perspective, and we might have to run it back depending on what happens.
You know what hockey fans love hearing about, Greg? Media travel issues.
And then
They
this woman
just
comes
love
into
it.
my hotel room trying to refresh my towels during a podcast. What a lament. Oh my God.
What kind of God would allow this? A cruel and spiteful one, Jeffy.
I'm
That's
not usually
what kind of God.
I'm not usually one to complain about the travel stuff, but I'm just trying to be honest. Fort Lauderdale to Edmonton was really, really tough. It was not a fun time at all. Because again, it is, if you're on the NHL charter, like some of my colleagues were, probably a different experience than running down the concourse in Minnesota to make sure you get your connecting flight to Alberta, kind of thing.
Now, enjoy Game 1. Say hi to Corey Lavalette when you see him. He's one of my favorite people. You be good.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Wish.
Take care, man. Bye.
There he is. Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. Game 1 tonight is the Florida Panthers facing off against the Carolina Hurricanes. That's the one game. But there's other games as well, folks. The Sheet powered by FanDuel, home of the same game parlay, I'll have you know. Make every moment more on FanDuel. FanDuel, proud to connect fans to the major sports moments that matter to them. And Western Conference Final, Lenovo Center tonight, Game 1. As you already know, Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. Jalen Chatfield, questionable. Do we see Tkachuk, who looked really good, by the way, in that series against the Washington Capitals? Man, and did he just not toss aside Andrew Mangiapane like shoo fly? Don't bother me. Get away. Sergei Bobrovsky, Frederick Anderson, those are your goaltenders tonight. Lineups will pretty much look the same. We'll see about Jalen Chatfield. Also, PWHL, Walter Cup, Game 1 tonight, Minnesota Frost against the Ottawa Charge. And let me grab this here. Hang on. I want to make sure that I mention this properly. We just got an email about this. Really cool. I'm glad they're doing this. USHL, Clark Cup. John Laz on the call. Game 5, Muskegon Lumberjacks versus the Waterloo Blackhawks. This is being streamed on the socials. This is being streamed on YouTube, the home broadcast. This is being streamed on X. You can watch this on Flow Hockey. You can watch this on the Waterloo Facebook, and you could watch this on the Muskegon Facebook as well. Flow Hockey subscribers will be able to watch Game 5 as usual on flowhockey.tv or via the Flow Sports mobile and connected TV apps. USHL. It will be Muskegon or Waterloo winning the Clark Cup tonight. Looking forward to that one. So lots of action on the horizon here. And then don't forget the Memorial Cup gets underway later on this week, Friday, as Rimouski faces off against Medicine Hat. The Q hosts taking on the Western Hockey League. Anything you want to wrap us up with? Zach, me and Greg pretty much sucked up all the oxygen on that show.
No, great show today. I just advise Leafs fans to stay off Puckpedia because last night I did it for a little bit, and I've come to the conclusion that we will be a lottery team next year. It's over. So just don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah.
Well, hey,
spent way too long. Sending it to Vic. He's like, tinker this. It's not good.
If you're going to be a lottery team, next year is a pretty good year to be a lottery team.
That's not true.
I'm gonna have a look at McKenna here at the Memorial Cup. There's that. I like that Ethan Belchet's kid too on Windsor. Holy smokes, is he massive and good too. Anyhow, next year's is stacked. So cheer up if you're gonna be a lottery team. Like next year's the year you want to be a lottery team, Zach. So maybe you're onto something with Puckpedia. Maybe you want to just go that way. Look, the Boston Bruins didn't want to have this season, but now they're gonna draft 8th overall. Maybe get themselves a Brady Martin. Pick up a nice little Brady Martin, tuck him away for the future. 44 on Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. If he gets that far. If he gets by Philly.
Yeah.
No guarantee. Maybe a Caleb Desnoyers. We'll watch him in the Memorial Cup too. Playing for Moncton.
Look, maybe people are looking ahead at this too much. Last thing I'll say about the Leafs, and I'll let you wrap up the show, but maybe they don't need to replace all that Mitch Marner money this summer. Maybe there's some big free agents coming up next summer.
Here's the problem. With
I'll just leave that.
Here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with Maple Leafs, though. There is no way they are not using every dime's worth of cap space. There is no chance that is going to happen.
You never know.
Spencer Newton in the chat. Gavin McKenna, you are a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Welcome to Toronto. Let's try this again. Edmonton did it.
J-Rock, no one has ever heard of Brady Martin. No, how dare you, J-Rock?
Wow.
Get to know your Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
The Leafs need to overpay Sam Bennett. That according to Spencer as well in the chat.
There you go.
Would you like Sam Bennett on your team?
I would, yes. You know who he also played with, Jeff, as you mentioned? Connor McDavid.
Marlies,
maybe they want to reunite here. They played for a blue and white team. Maybe
they can go and find like Roland McEwen and Jaden Lindo and Jeremiah
was Ho-Sang
Addison
on that team too,
and all that. What's that?
Wasn't
Josh Ho-Sang?
Yeah,
Josh Ho-Sang. Yeah. Josh Ho-Sang, Jaden Lindo, who was a Pittsburgh pick, Jeremiah Addison, who was a Montreal Canadiens pick, Roland McEwen, who was a second rounder to Carolina.
Yeah,
Roland McEwen.
Right. Yeah.
That was
from Kingston,
team.
Right?
And do you remember who they beat in the OHL Cup final? Or who they lost to in the OHL Cup final at the Hershey Center?
No.
Mississauga Rebels. You know who's the star of that team?
No, but when you say it, yeah, I will, because I do remember now.
Robbie Fabry.
Yeah.
Robbie Fabry.
Yeah.
I think that might have been like their only second loss that season. That team was insane. I remember watching them. And it was like, right away you knew that McDavid, like already, even though he was an underager on the Marlies, McDavid looked like a pro hockey player. Like there was no minor hockey in him. But man, was there some minor hockey in Josh Ho-Sang. Ho-Sang would like deke everybody out and then like circle back, regroup, just so we could do it again. I was like, this kid's awesome. And every shift he's out there, he's letting everybody know just how awesome he is.
How good he is.
Yeah, it was like so much minor hockey elite in there. Meanwhile, McDavid is just like passing, skating, playmaking, all of it, just like perfection, no nonsense, none of the frills, faster than guys, first on pucks, like all of it. He was that guy. Like you could tell right away this guy's playing in the NHL. Josh Ho-Sang was just flat out fun. I've always maintained like in that draft he had top 5 skill. That's just going to be one of those like you just like, man, you just want it all to come together for Ho-Sang because he's so good. He's so skilled. He could have been a star in the NHL. And I remember talking to one of his coaches in the OHL who said to me, I've never seen a guy whose game revolved around just setting up a backdoor play. It's like everything that he did was just to set up back. Like you just watch it. Go back and watch Josh Ho-Sang, right? Niagara, wherever he's playing. All I want to do is set up backdoor. Like everything that he did was to set up that play. But God, was he ever good. Anyway, I'm going on about Josh Hosang. What year is it? Yeah. He was an awesome, awesome hockey player. I just wish that it would have worked out for him.
I think he's playing in the ECHL right now for the Florida Everblades.
He was last year. Did he go back?
I think he went back. Yeah. I find out.
He's an
my buddy's
guy.
On that team.
He's a really, really interesting guy, like off the ice to talk to. Fascinating guy. Really, really interesting dude. And then on the ice was just like magical, but could never like put it together to play. I guess like sounds cruel, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he should have been such a star. He was so good. He's you know what he's going to be
6 games this year.
He played 6 games. Was it injury or was it just like got bored? It was too good for everybody. 6 games, 12 points?
He was only 4 points and -5.
Well, that plus minus is just a reflection of the shooting percentage of your line mates, Zach.
Okay, yeah. Well, my bad.
All right. Well, we've somehow ended up the program talking about Josh Hosang, but here we are. How did we get there? Talking about Sam Bennett and the Marlies.
Yeah.
And then we started rattling off all the players from that team that didn't make it. One of them's going to the Hockey Hall of Fame. All right. On behalf of Zach, and a big thanks as always to Greg Wyshynski here on Tuesdays for MvsW Tuesdays. Thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the games tonight, whether you are watching the NHL, the PWHL, or the USHL's Clark Cup Final. It's the last game, Game 5. Laz on the mic, too. Check that one out. Anyhow, back tomorrow for this program, 3 o'clock Eastern. Don't forget, Morning Cup of Hockey tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohen, DFO Live at noon, Our Little Act at 3. And thanks watching or chatting. Love you in the chat. Listening on your favorite podcast platform as well. Thanks for joining me. We are back in 23-ish hours tomorrow to talk about what we are going to see later tonight and what we will see tomorrow evening. Right? There we go. Tomorrow. If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.